told me, oh man, committed a crime. He's doing time. Now she's hanging in the bottle. I seen her out there on the avenue all by herself. Sure need help from the bottle. I seen her. Your man tried to help her. She cussed him out and hit him in the head with the bottle. They turned to me, they asked me, Gilna, don't you think it's a crime?
Oh, yeah, it's a crime. Time after time. Hey, welcome to the Reality Check with Charles Butler here at Red State Talk Radio. This is Freedom Friday. You know, I've had Freedom Fridays now for going on close to, 13 years. That's amazing. Amazing. That's how long we've been broadcasting. We're getting ready to launch a new platform, as I was telling you about on Monday, where we'll be on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook simultaneously, as well as some other platforms out there. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you all for your comments. Thank you for your support. Really appreciate it. We're going to get the word out there and kick it off. I'm working on my book, as I told you I would. In fact, I'm going to try to get my website up to speed. But, you guys who are looking at me out there on YouTube, I'm looking back and I'm going to chat today. So I won't ignore you if you chat. And by the way, you can call in. I open up the phone lines early. So the phone lines is 215-867-8255. It's 215-867-8255. First, this is a awkward day for me, 9/11. It's always a day of reflection. I remember exactly where I was when I saw the towers attacked. And I'll never forget that feeling. I was in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I was at a meeting with my wife. I was playing spouse. And she's an investment banker. And we were at this state treasurer's meeting. So if anyone had brought a bomb in and dropped a bomb in this meeting, they would have killed most of the state treasurers in the United States, because most of them were there. Okay. And it was really interesting the night before, we had a fantastic trip. I love New Mexico, by the way, and I love Santa Fe. And those of you who know me know that I snow ski. So I was up in, used to have a place up near Tahoe. Actually, it was in Colorado on the border. And I'd go down to Taos and ski. And we would stay in Santa Fe. Santa Fe is a great place, as you know. Great jewelry out there. If you like turquoise, if you like, well, I forget what they call those rocks. It's a special name for them. You can get them in Sedona, but any crystals and things like that, they just have, they have these wonderful crystals and Indian blankets and all kinds of artifacts at reasonable prices. They're not touristy prices, or they used to didn't be. I haven't been out there in a while. So anyway, long story short, we were at this meeting, and I'm telling you this story again because I tell it every 9/11. And the night before 9/11, so that was September 10th, we had gone to where they filmed the movie Silverado. Well, Silverado is one of my favorite movies. I watch it about 5 or 6 times a year. I love Silverado. It's got all my favorite actors in it, and those of you who've seen Silverado, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's kind of like a cult Western flick, and I grew up during that period. My dad liked shoot 'em ups, as he called them. So we used to watch shoot 'em ups all the time. Hopalong Cassidy, the Lone Ranger, all that kind of stuff. So I'm a shoot 'em up kind of guy. So anyway, we went to this city where they actually filmed the movie, and we were in this bar where Danny Glover had been denied a drink, which was, it was interesting. Black dude in this bar where this black man had been denied a drink because he was black. So, it was, and everybody, in the who was out there with the trip, they were just, just fantastic people. Everybody was cool. So anyway, this movie had Kevin Costner, Danny Glover, who else? Oh man, it just had who else? It had Kevin Kline, Scott, was it Scott Glenn? Who else? Marvin McIntyre, my old girlfriend, Lynn Whitfield. It was just a fantastic, fantastic time, fantastic movie. And we had a wonderful time drinking and talking and just camaraderie. So next morning, I'm an early riser, but I'd had so much to drink and I had been driving that night. So I was, a little, I wasn't hungover. I hadn't been drinking that much, but I, wasn't about jumping up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So my wife turns on the television and she says, honey, look at this. I roll over and I look at the television and one of the towers is crumbling. And it says on the bottom of the screen, live. I turn back over. I say, girl, that's just an advertisement for Independence Day 2, the movie Independence Day. And she said, no, Charles, this is really happening. This is right now. So I turned back and I looked at it and I'm going, no. It's Independence Day 2, girl. And I rolled back over. So she wouldn't let me sleep. She hit me again, hey, look, they just Tower 2 fell. Look, Charles, this is real. So Brian Gumble was on and, so I sit up in the bed and I'm looking at this and I'm going, damn. Because we know a lot of people who work in New York, who work on Wall Street, who work in the area, right? In fact, one of my good friends, a lady named Vi, she worked right across the street in the, it's called the NASD building, NASDAQ. She worked at NASDAQ. And my first concern was about her. And then, so we set up and we're looking at this and the phone starts to ring because like I told you, my wife was an investment banker, knew a lot of people on Wall Street. Phone starts to ring. Now we're hearing about friends that we know who were in the building. The priest who was killed at 9/11, we had just taken him to dinner that summer. I'll come up with his name in a minute. How quickly we forget. But he was a cool priest, Catholic priest. I never understood why it was okay for them to drink and no other holy man was supposed to drink. But he was killed by a falling body. And my wife had just taken him to dinner. The three of us, we'd just gone to dinner. So we got back, everybody was, his name was Michael Judge. Father Michael Judge was his name. He was killed he was giving last rites to people who jumped out of the building, out of the towers. And we heard that Father Judge had been killed. I mean, these are people, like I said, we just had dinner with him, a month, maybe 6 weeks before he died, And then we'd had dinner with a lady whose husband, she worked with my wife, and her husband had just gone to work for Ketter Peabody. No, was it called Ketter? Can't come up with the name right now. Cantor. They were a big trading firm, 9/11. And he just gone to work for them. And he said, he called his wife, and his wife and my wife were good friends. And she was telling the story that he'd gotten a call. They were leaving the building. Cantor Fitzgerald was the name of the company. Cantor Fitzgerald. And they were leaving the building. He was leaving the building. And they said a voice came over the PA system in the stairwell and said, go back to your office. A small plane hit the building. We have everything under control. So he goes back upstairs, gets on the phone and tells his wife that. See, these people, while they're concocting all these stories, no one told them to go back. Well, the people who had been in the building in 93 Remember, there was a car bombing. The Arabs, what was his name? KLS had put a bomb in the basement of the World Trade Center. He's still in prison. It's a wonder Barack didn't let him go, so he could blow up something else, Barack and his capitulating self. But, the first Muslim president and it just always amazed me. And I've always thought about those people who took matters into their own hands, because if they hadn't, that plane would have probably crashed into the Capitol. Now, how long would it have taken to rebuild our Capitol? It didn't take them long to rebuild the Pentagon. But how long would it have taken them to rebuild the Capitol? What would happen to our government? How would our government function? Where would they have met? You know what I'm really pissed about when I think about 9/11 is that we didn't go and do what we were supposed to do in Iraq or Afghanistan. You forget that the Afghanis and the Pakistanis let bin Laden slip away, even though, and this is the other thing about all of that always interests me, because they tried to blame it on bin Laden, and they blame it on bin Laden. But I remember very clearly that bin Laden said, I didn't do it. He said, I'm glad it happened, but I didn't order it. I didn't do it. And this went on for a couple of days. And then finally he just said, hey, okay, fine. You're going to blame it on me. I'll take the blame. But at the end of the day, I'm glad it happened, but I didn't do it. That's what bin Laden said. So we said, we're closing in on bin Laden. We're driving him through the pass, and the Pakistanis are going to stop him. And what Americans don't get, and this is what I really have an ardent disdain for these American people who are supposed to be in charge. They don't understand that the rest of the world does not adhere to their values. They do not adhere to their norms. Muslims put being a Muslim before any nation state BS. Let me be clear. Muslims put being a Muslim and a Muslim brother before being a Pakistani or an Afghan or an Iraqi. All that stuff it means nothing to them. They believe in Allah. They believe in their religion. That's what they put first, and that's who they are. See, that whole nation state thing, that's a European thing. Okay? These guys are like, hey, we are Muslims and we are Muslim brothers. So those Muslim brothers allowed bin Laden to sneak right into Pakistan. And the U.S. intelligence people knew it. The U.S. intelligence people knew all about it. There's no question about that. In fact, I remember very distinctly, one of my most favorite news people is a lady named Christiana Amanpour. She worked for CNN at the time. And I loved Christiana Amanpour because she was just always so on point, so clear, so factual. I just loved her reporting at the time. So when she came on television and said that bin Laden was living in a mansion in Western Pakistan and we knew exactly where he was, they took her off the air. I didn't understand that. But now we know that when and I tell you this story all the time, when we went after Gaddafi and destroyed Gaddafi in Libya, and see, like I said, no other country and no other leader will be stupid enough to give up their nukes when you have people in office like a Obama, Biden, Hillary Clinton. This man gave up his nukes. He did everything that the so-called established world asked him to do, paid reparations for things that I don't think he was really responsible for. But they blamed it on him, because Gaddafi did a lot of good. Nobody ever talks about that. And I still today have no respect, and I do mean absolutely none, for the African Union. And Gaddafi formed that and built that and funded it. But those Africans are punks. They're European educated idiots. That's who they are. That's what they are. That's why their countries are shithole countries still, in spite of the resources, in spite of the educations, Western educations that they get. They still don't come home and build better infrastructure and provide better opportunities for their people. And I'm not going to go into that today, but that's another hot button of mine about these so-called European educated black folks and their countries. So look, let's fast forward to Christiana Amanpour telling the world that where bin Laden was, and Barack Obama bombing and killing Gaddafi's children, his grandchildren, while his son was on the phone with the CIA saying, what the hell is going on? Killed him. Boom. Allied bomb is what they call it. Allied bomb takes out bin Laden's son. He was on the phone back channeling with the CIA saying, what the hell is going on here? Why are you guys launching this attack against us? And I'll say this anytime. Whenever you see allied bomb, allied forces, they're talking about U.S. forces. They just don't want to, put our name out there. But it's always the U.S. at the forefront. Why did we have hundreds of thousands of troops in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the British had 6,000? and everyone else had less than that. And then you have these people talk about, well, we pulled out of NATO, and we don't respect our allies. Our allies don't respect us. They're not our allies. They expect us to do their fighting. And Trump has said, we're tired of sending our young people over here to shed blood for your. And I kept saying to folks, and I kept saying this, and I say this today, when they were talking about bringing these Syrian refugees over here. These are men who are fighting age. We're talking about no man between 18 and 35 should be allowed to be a refugee to be resettled in this country. Look at the Snyder brothers and their dad. Their dad was a bully. Their dad was a gangster over in the place he came from. He was a gangster. Brought his little idiot kids over here. We raised them. We fed them. We put them in a suburban neighborhood, 2 cars in the garage. Great job. Why don't they do that for the average American? See, we go out and we make everybody's American dream come true who comes here, except the people who built this country. The Americans whose this country on the backs it was built. Low income whites, low income blacks. We're the ones who built this country. We should be afforded an opportunity to pursue the American dream before any damn immigrant. I was looking at something today that someone sent me. This guy named Tim Mash, guy I grew up with back home in Pontiac. And, it's a picture of Obama saying, we're going to fine Americans who don't pay for health care. And underneath that said, we're going to give illegal aliens free health care. How about that? This is a guy who comes on television and made a point of it, he and Biden. We're going to fine you if you don't buy into paying for health care for everyone but you. But, if you're illegal, you cross the border, you come from Canada to get an operation, we're not going to fine you. We're not going to charge you. People come from Canada all the time to get operations here. People come from Mexico, come from around the world to America to get free operations. How does that work? How do we end up with these hellacious bills? But anyway, let's get back to 9/11. So here we are, 9/11, and the President Trump, we heard from President Bush from 2002 to the time he left office, and he did a great job. I think Bush will always be underrated and not given credit for the great job that he did with the war on terror. I just think it should have been executed more forcefully. I think we should have gone in, kicked behind, and got out. That's where I was going with that earlier. We should have gone in, kicked behind, and got out. But instead, we made General Electric, a lot of money. People have no understanding of the tentacles of GE. GE was making avionics equipment. They were building jet engines. They were building jet aircraft components. They were making money hand over fist, man. And nobody said anything. They were, Halliburton. What did Cheney got him? What an $8 billion no bid contract? I mean, really? Listen, this stuff was so bad with Halliburton, they moved their headquarters to Dubai. They moved their headquarters from Texas to Dubai. Oh, and by the way, they never stopped paying Dick Cheney his $30 million a year as chairman. They put it aside in an account. True story. Look it up sometime. But that aside, we had some very heroic people step up at 9/11. We had people who, they talk about the country coming together. We always come together in times of tyranny. We always come together in times of challenge. I can remember, we can talk about in my lifetime, the civil rights movement. I can remember people rallying. See, people try to act like this is a black thing and a white. If there weren't good white people marching with those black people, the country would never have taken notice. See, we always try to downplay and try to play, especially today, play race politics. I am not a Black Matters Life guy. You guys know that. And there are a number of reasons for that. But yeah, Black lives matter. And certainly all lives matter. And certainly blue lives matter. They've missed the point on that. And that is police misconduct. Not all cops are bad cops. Not all cops are good cops, but that's true in society. All I'm saying and all I've ever said my whole life is hold bad cops accountable. But don't expect me to overlook the fact that whenever I see a policeman, I'm always on alert from my experiences. So you can call them anecdotal, but as I say, you can get 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 Black professional men who've never had a run-in with the law. And I bet you all of them have had a gun pulled on them at one time or other on a traffic stop. I've had guns pulled on me 12 times on traffic stops. Not in the commission of a crime, except maybe exceeding the speed limit. How many white people can say that? That they feel that their life is in danger if they, speed down the street. I don't think very many would think that. So 9/11 supposedly brought us together, but everything brings us together as a people. When it's wrong, it's wrong. Black Lives Matter. I would say the crowds are 60, 70% white, and that's why you got this Antifa people and the violence, because Black folks know if they start throwing rocks at cops and Molotov cocktails at cops and burning cop cars, guess what? People die. People get shot. Yeah, they do. And why is that? Don't know. But when you Black and you break in the law, people all of a sudden, they feel their life is in danger. And you look at the inaugural, and I've talked about this before, and you look at the Antifa people at the inaugural and how they broke office buildings, glass windows and walls out and set cop cars on fire and yelled and taunted the police. You see no Black folks out there doing that, because Black folks know what will happen. You will get shot. There's no question about it. Nobody's going to beat you. Nobody's going to taser you. Guy's going to pull out his weapon and shoot your Black ass and say, I felt threatened. My life, I saw my life flash before my eyes because this Black man yelled at me and I just thought he was so big. I'd get tired of it. You hear that all the time. That's what my buddy Johnny Cochran used to say. He said he couldn't continue to be a district attorney because he'd get these cops on the stand and they all had the same rhetoric. They all had the same story, verbatim. Oh, my life was in danger. And I thought, You know, get tired. If you're a coward, then you shouldn't have a badge. You should be out there in the streets. You know, when I was growing up, it was some bad cops, man. I'm talking about good cops, but you knew they were police. You didn't mess with the police, and the police didn't mess with you if you were a good kid. You know, they were like, you know, hey, Charles, how you doing? Hey, Butch, he called me Butchie. Hey, Butch, how you doing? I'm doing good, Officer Jones. How you doing? You know, they were cool. They knew the good guys from the bad guys. They knew the good families from the bad families. But these cops today, all they see is a black face, and that gets real bad. But anyway, I can tell you stories, and I've told you stories about growing up in Pontiac and the police stories that I had from there, which were interesting, very interesting, because I knew, white policemen who got these bad cops off me, and my brothers. 9/11, President Trump. I tell you, I don't like President Trump. I love President Trump. And I love President Trump because he gets it done. He says, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. And, either you jump on board or you step aside. Doesn't make me any difference. I'm going to get it done. I saw a poll today, and it said that Donald Trump is going to get 40% of the black vote. Well, I think that's a little high. But I certainly think, and I've said this months ago, that he's going to get 30%. 40% of the black vote is what the poll said. I think he's definitely going to get 30% of the black vote, close to it. And the reason I say that is because people like his style. They like the fact that he's in your face. Hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I don't appreciate the ball players not standing, but that has nothing to do with race. And people get it in spite of the media. This is a media who's tried to paint Donald Trump as a xenophobe, a homophobe, a negrophobe, any phobia. It's always attributed to whom? Donald J. Trump. I love the guy. I'm sorry. And nobody's perfect. And that certainly includes me, even though you guys don't know that, but it includes me. But I can honestly say that I support this guy, and I always will. And the reason I support him is because he stands up for the American people. He stands up for the little guy. And when we talked about, he went to Shakersville and spoke, and I ran a clip. Ran a quick clip, and the clip is very clear. The clip, the president is talking about the president is talking about the people and how they responded to these guys with box cutters. And it always tickles me because I know if a car was being or a plane was being carjacked from Chicago, the people in the plane in Chicago would say, box cutters? Dude, you got to be kidding me. Box cutters? We getting ready to get in that behind, okay? I mean, box cutters? I mean, give me a break. That's the best you got? Box cutters? See, that's why they had to kidnap those soft wimps from New York or Boston, where they're civil and they will just, well, give me your wallet. Okay, I'll give you, you can't do that here in Chicago. Give me your wallet. Guys will go, give me wallet. Are you kidding me? I'm going to give you something, but it ain't my wallet. So, but I already told you that story. When I used to go to New York, people would go, well, Charles, if you, in the 70s, if you get stopped, if someone comes up and asks for your wallet, just give it to them. I'm like, dude, I'm from Detroit. I ain't giving them nothing. I mean, really? So good thing that no one asked me for my wallet because I was not giving it up. Bottom line. I'm trying to pull up this little clip that I had on the president which is really cool, really cool because the I put it in a folder. I think I put it in a folder called the new folder or something like that. And for whatever reason, it's not coming up. But it was the president talking about uh, how today the how today the people all rallied, took a vote, and rallied and went and rushed the cockpit and crashed the plane. So the guys who fly in the plane weren't that, they weren't all that. I mean, here these guys, they put a little pressure on this guy, and he runs the plane into the ground. I mean, really? Oh man, I tell you, I couldn't get over that. But hey, it's not for me to get over. It's not for me to really even deal with. But it just shows you when you put pressure on people, when you stand up to people who are bad people, they will they fold. And it kind of reminds me of what's his name, uh, Campbell, Glenn Campbell. So you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money while you're sitting at the table, because there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. And those people on that flight, 93, they were determined to get in that cockpit and take back control of that airplane. Amazing. Just incredible, guys and women, let's go get it. Let's roll. I love it. I'm sure it scared those Arabs to death. Sent them on their way to see Allah, but they had a surprise. They were going the other way. They were going to meet old Satan. But and I'm not going to be blasphemous today about Islam, so I'm gonna be a good boy. I'm gonna let it ride. But look, the president is very clear. And he did a great job, I think, today. His speech today, very solemn, very serious. I think he did a great job, and just wanted to commend him on that, and hope that the media gives the man credit for what he's done, because he did a good job. Now, one of the we'll take a little break, and one of the um, uh, features that I'm going to play is Ezekiel 25:17. Here we go. We're going to tee this up and let you listen to this for a sec, and then we'll come right back. Okay. Ezekiel 25:17. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the inequities of selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherd the weak through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee. Wow. Ezekiel 25:17. That's the Old Testament. See, everybody wants to talk about the New Testament, but see, that's one reason why I like the Torah, because, it's the Old Testament. I love the Old Testament. Having been reading the Bible since I was about 4 or 5 years old. And the 9/11 Salon Biden Quest. What did I put this in here? Hold on. Let's see. I think we did. We put it right here. and we'll play
Thank you very much.
the president. Here we go.
Thank you, David, very much. It's a great honor to be with you. 19 years ago on this day, at this very hour on this field, 40 brave men and women triumphed over terror and gave their lives in defense of our nation. Their names and their stories are forever inscribed on the eternal roll call of American heroes. Today we pay tribute to their sacrifice, and we mourn deeply for the nearly 3,000 precious and beautiful souls who were taken from us on September 11th, 2001. To the family members of Flight 93, today every heartbeat in America is wedded to yours. Your pain and anguish is the shared grief of our whole nation. The memory of your treasured loved ones will inspire America for all time to come. The heroes of Flight 93 are an everlasting reminder that no matter the danger, no matter the threat, no matter the odds, America will always rise up, stand tall, and fight back. To every 9/11 member all across this nation, the First Lady and I come to this hallowed ground, deeply aware that we cannot fill the void in your heart or erase the terrible sorrow of this day, the agony renewed, the nightmare relived, the wounds reopened, the last treasured words played over and over again in your minds. But while we cannot erase your pain, we can help to shoulder your burden. We promise that unwavering love that you so want and need, support, devotion, and the very special devotion of all Americans. On that September morning when America was under attack, the battle turned in the skies above this field. Soon after taking off from Newark, New Jersey, radical Islamic terrorists seized control of United 93. Other hijacked planes.
Wow. And the president went on talking about what happened and how they took a vote and decided to go to the cockpit and run the cockpit. So it was good. It was all good. It was all good. You know, it was all good. And I had a young man calling in, Ted Bauer. And Ted is a good friend of mine. Used to come on my show quite a bit. And I wonder what Ted wanted. So I'm going to put him in here. And let's see what we got. I'm going to call him back.
How you doing?
Hey, Ted.
Hey, what are you doing?
I'm on the air. What's going on? You're on the air. What's going on, dude?
Well, no, I saw you call me after you returning your phone call.
Okay. Well, you sent me a text message earlier today, so I was just responding.
Well, thank you so much. That's nice of you.
So,
real quick question: are you still flying planes at all?
yeah, I still fly.
Okay, what do you own a plane?
Well, I fly for a guy who owns a plane. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know this. You're like you're still like a professional pilot.
I am.
Okay, good. Because I'm finishing my pilot's license.
Great.
So I'll talk. I know you're on the air, but I'll chit chat with you about that later.
Okay, dude. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Ted Broer, he owns a big, Ted owns a big, what do you call it? Health care, you vitamins, minerals, all that kind of stuff. He does a good job, does a great job with his vitamin company. His supplement company is really what it is. It's a supplement company. So look, yeah, I see you out there chatting, guys. I see you. Hello. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. Look, so the president, was, all over 9/11. And I thought that was great. I thought he did a great job. So look, what I'm going to talk about today is something that we talked about yesterday and with Dr. Saul Giovanni. and we we were laughing because remember, I don't know if you all remember, but we got into a discussion about Milton Friedman and Milton Friedman's uh, declare his manifesto, which basically put the shareholder first before the surrounding community, and how detrimental that had been. Like he said, a CEO should not try to correct discrimination. So it was a very controversial piece. This was in 1970. Never forget, I was in high school, and when I got to college, my freshman year, and I was taking a business course, we had to read Friedman's manifesto. And it's really ironic. I've shared with you before that I used to have lunch a couple of times a year with Milton Friedman. We lived in the same neighborhood. I ran into Dr. Friedman at a gas station, and I'm filling up my car, and he's filling up his car. And we said, we exchanged pleasantries, and he saw the Michigan sticker on my car and said, "Oh, that's a great school for econ." I said, "Yeah, my wife got an econ degree from there." He said, "Oh, she must be brilliant." Yeah, he was talking. And, I introduced myself, and he introduced himself. And I said, I've read a number of your books. I've been reading your books pretty much all my life. We started laughing. We pulled over to the side away from the pumps, and we must have talked for an hour and just laughed. And I was asking him questions about Richard Nixon, because he was a economic advisor to Nixon. He said, "Yeah, well, sometimes President Nixon took my advice and sometimes he didn't. But at the end of the day, I'm an economist, so what do I know? I'm not a pragmatist. I don't practice it. I just give these theoretical, recommendations and analysis." And he was just always a wonderful guy. We'd have lunch, like I said, a couple of times a year, and these lunches would last like 2.5, 3 hours, man. And and we would have them at the same place in Hyde Park. When we would come in, the same waitress would wait on us. And she said, "Well, I know you're going to be here a while." So I always left her a decent tip because we tied up her table for so long. And Milt would never, would always try to get the bill. I think he feigned that. But I always left her a nice tip because she was just wonderful. And he was wonderful company. So I miss him a great deal. But Milton Friedman, we were talking about this yesterday. And Milton had put out this manifesto that basically said, is an essay that appeared in the New York Times. And it said the social responsibility of business is to increase its profit. Now, those of you who are looking at how do you get me on YouTube? Someone asked that. You go to The Reality Check with Charles Butler, and I should be streaming live. If I'm not, you'll go into the archives, but I'm streaming live out there. Okay. So a number in this article in New York Times, I wake up this morning and I'm reading New York Times. It's about 5:30, 6 o'clock. And the first thing I see in my phone is a free market manifesto that changed the world reconsidered. And I go, what the heck? Then the subtitle is Milton Friedman's Libertarian Economics Influenced Presidents and Inspired Greed is Good. That's from Wall Street, but the movie Wall Street, by the way. Gekko said that. Greed is good. Gordon Gekko. Love Gordon Gekko. Love that character, especially when he said, WASP, they love dogs and hate people. If you want a friend, get a dog. That's what he told Bud Fox. I'm into that, quoting these things, right? So anyway, so they asked the question, so what did Friedman get right and wrong? Today's business leaders and economists weigh in. And it was really interesting that most of them thought that there should be some social responsibility. We talked about this yesterday, Dr. Saul and I. And because we were talking about vaccines, and we were talking about the credibility of vaccines and who would who would take a vaccine, who would trust the pharmaceutical companies. And I was telling them that I don't trust the pharmaceutical companies. I don't trust the medical profession. I think that they try to play God. I think that they're practicing Frankensteinism is what I call it, where they're keeping people alive who should die. They're keeping people alive who will have no quality of life. What can a person do with half a brain besides be taken care of all their life? Absolutely nothing. What can a parent do with a child like that? So, well, I love my child. What do you love? The person can't talk. They can't reason. They can't do anything except exist. It's like having a live doll. I mean, that may be harsh, but it's the truth. God is God at the end of the day. And I think scientists and science is practicing God. Like many of these guys, they have a godlike complex. So anyway, we're not going to belabor that point. But Milton Friedman, and it is really interesting that my Dr. Saul hit me with a text message and said, I wonder if the author of this article was listening to our conversation yesterday, because this is exactly what we talked about. But September 13th, so that's Sunday, will mark the 50th anniversary of the seminal moment in the world of business, the publication of Milton Friedman's essay. It was in the New York Times Magazine, and it was entitled, again, The Social Responsibility of Business is to Increase Its Profits. And after that, you had these corporations who started pulling back from building new playgrounds, from providing school systems with football gear and baseball gear and gymnasiums. They were, like Pontiac Motors was a great corporate client. All of a sudden, it became okay not to share the wealth with the workers. And it's really interesting because in the mid to late 60s, in Detroit, which was the center of American industry. And as John Smith, the chairman of GM, said, as GM goes, so goes the America. At that time, this is before the computer and high-tech business. He was absolutely right. But GM and all the automakers pulled back and so it became a very contentious time for workers and management. And when in the late 60s, Walter Reuther, Jimmy Hoffa, George Meany, all these union leaders, they had a great relationship with management, and everybody was making money and everybody was happy. I didn't know that I was from a working class family until I went to University of Michigan. Well, I knew before then, but I mean, not really. Like you go to some of these kids' homes and they had estates, man. They lived in estates. Like this one girl I dated, she lived in Grosse Pointe. It was an estate. It was palatial. I'm like, ooh, her dad was an exec at Chrysler. And she was saying, well, my dad's an exec at Chrysler, but Jody's dad, he's an exec at GM, and this is his house or her house. You know what I mean? It was, they had their own pecking order. But this was good. And, but everyone forgets that Jamie Dimon, and I always like to repeat this, last year, Jamie Dimon said at the Business Roundtable that companies should put social responsibility above profit. And nobody wanted to talk about that. And he had all these people sign off on it. So if you go to Reuters and you just Google Jamie Dimon, social responsibility, it'll bring this Reuters article up, and all the top U.S. CEOs say companies should put social responsibility. See, Trump started that. They won't give him credit, but Trump started that when he called the Business Roundtable in the first 60 days he taken office. It was about taking less profit, pushing more. He said, why are you guys worth $30 million? Why is one man worth $30 million? I mean, really? I mean, come on, guys. I'm a business guy too. You guys are in a corporation. I have my own business. You guys are in a corporation and you're just taking all the money. 20 million, 30 million a year. For doing what? Sitting in a chair? Taking a few phone calls? Anyway. But see, that's what happens when you have real people doing real work And if anyone is a real person doing real work, it is President Trump. So we talked about a couple of things today. We talked about 9/11. I shared my experience with you in 9/11. And we also talked about the president at Shakersville. And we talked about social responsibility and Milton Friedman's an article we talked about yesterday, which I thought was really cool. I thought it was really cool that we had an opportunity to talk about Milton Friedman and putting social responsibility before profit, which I feel we should anyway. But that's me. That's the humanitarian in me, I guess. But look, we're going to get ready to exit out of the show, out of Freedom Friday. And we got a couple of seconds here. So I'm going to play a little bit for you. Compared to what? Okay. So we'll be back Monday, same time, same place. Okay.
Slaughterhouses are killing hogs, twisted children are killing frogs, poor dumb rednecks rolling logs, tired old ladies kissing dogs. I hate the human love of that stinking mud. I can't use it, trying to make it real compared to what